Hello, my family. Okay, so we're on day 2 of prepping. Today consists of, I did all my laundry. Yes, my hair is wet, y'all, because I'm washing my hair too. If the power goes out, that means no hot water. I got stories to tell you. So hold on a minute. We're working on day 2. Today is getting laundry done and baking bread. Y'all, this is going to be an interesting day. And I was asked if I would make this video because something so simple is a struggle. And I get this struggle. If you're ready, we're going to talk about the simple biscuit. One of the hardest things in my life I ever figured out how to do. And I'm going to share that with you. Okay, y'all. So first, before we even start this video, I want to give a shout out to the many, and I mean many. Y'all broke the algorithm, and I am highly blessed and favored to have you have found this channel. Welcome to our Mediterranean homestead. And what's amazing is you already know what we're about. We are about whole foods. We are about self-sufficiency, and we're about prepping. As simple as that. We are a functioning homestead in a city atmosphere on 0.34 acres of land, and we make it work. So I am teaching now. A lot of things that I have, you will find that I am using fresh milled flour. The reason for this isn't to be in with the groups or to fads. It is because my husband is a type 2 diabetic, and this wheat works. It does not spike my sugar, or not my sugar, my husband's sugar, like enriched flour from the grocery store does, majorly. When I came across learning about fresh wheat berries, it made a huge difference in our family. So therefore, you will find that I use that. I also will teach, though, for those who don't mill, other recipes that you can be able to enjoy the same meals that I prepare whole foods on this channel with. So we don't do a lot of processed foods, y'all. We do a lot of whole foods, and we do a lot of recreating our favorite dishes. Like right now, I am making hamburger buns because we want a burger, but we're going to try a turkey burger. Never done that. This ought to be interesting. So, talk about the simple biscuit. That is one of our bread sources that I am making today. In case the power goes out, I want to have a loaf of bread, I want to have a bun, and I want to have biscuits. Okay, as you all heard yesterday, I was born and raised up north in Illinois. And then over 30 years ago, I moved to Tennessee. At the point of moving to Tennessee, I met this man that I'm married to now. And he is a Southerner to the core. I did help get him away from some of the foods he used to eat in a much healthier way. So we're doing good there. But the one thing he loves and will not depart from is his ultimate favorite biscuit. That biscuit is my nightmare. And I'm going to tell you why. He has the sweetest little aunt I have ever met. This lady is adorable. She had tried so hard to teach me how to make a simple biscuit. It was unreal. Oh Lord. Okay, so y'all, you put a gourmet meal in front of me or a recipe, and I could put the most amazing meal on your table. But that darn biscuit, I hated that biscuit to the life of me. I tried every recipe out there. I could never get that soft, fluffy biscuit that his aunt could make, and it frustrated me. She sat with me. God love that woman. She sat with me for over a year. Finally, one day, bless her heart, she looked right at me and she said, "Child, what is wrong with you? Why can't you catch on to this?" I told her I didn't know. I did try. My husband, God love those hunting dogs. Y'all, I really tried. There was some of the hardest biscuits I had ever made. They were so dense. The dogs ate them. However, they wouldn't eat their food. Naturally, you can understand why if you were that heavy with a biscuit that I was trying to learn how to make. He never caught on to what I did. Till one day, one of my kids narked on me and said, "Mama fed your dog biscuits." It was, oh Lord, y'all. I finally learned how to make that darn simple biscuit. And it isn't the recipe, y'all, it's the technique. And when I realized, I tried so hard trying to figure out how to do this. I mean, I literally watched his aunt, and would I advise this? Absolutely not. I mean, but the old generation, our older generation, y'all, they lived so much longer than us. They knew more than us. So I didn't say anything. She had this big, huge bowl with a lid full of flour. She poured everything inside this bowl and made the most amazing fluffy biscuits I have ever tasted in my life. To the point I loved and hated her at the same time. She tried to teach me. And I kept wondering, how is it she has this bowl of flour and how are they so soft? It took me, I think, 3 years since she tried to teach me how to make a biscuit. It took me to learn the technique. The technique on most of the things that we do is how we first get our flour. Aunt Linda used this bowl system, and when she used her hands to mix this dough, she brought in just enough till she knew that texture she needed and pulled the dough out. And this bowl, it was amazing, but it had this clean spot around it. But that dough was very pliable, not dense at all. You could literally see how she did this. And I thought, wow. So I thought about that for the longest time and realized a lot of us, look, it's a real simple scoop and go. And that is creating, and I did this video a long while back, y'all, that creates density because we are packing more flour than we absolutely need for our recipe. The flow method. I'm going to go ahead and show you an example what the flow method looks like. And then we're going to take this step by step because, y'all, I learned how to make the most fluffiest biscuits and to use that same technique. Now, let me tell you, hard or fresh milled flour is a very difficult flour if you're not used to it because you are dealing with the bran, the fiber, you're dealing with every nutrients and vitamin. There is nothing sifted there, and it could be very dense. If this technique can work with fresh milled flour, can you imagine if those of you who are using the store-bought flour, what it does for you too? I can make a fluffy biscuit from this, so can you. And I'm going to show you at the end what these biscuits look like. I'm going to be using spelt flour. So I'm first going to take you to the first technique is how we went wrong with our flour. Let's get you set up in the kitchen because like I said, step by step, y'all, I'm going to teach those of you who have been struggling with a biscuit like I have for centuries and it seems like we were never going to get it. It is not your recipe, y'all. It's the technique. And I promise you, I will show you the technique and you're going to look at your biscuits Never the same anymore. You're going to love them instead of hate them. I hated those things. I never wanted to see another biscuit in my life because I just didn't get it. It wasn't my recipe because every recipe came out the same. Now let's show you what we did. Okay, y'all, so we're going to start out with our simple bowl of flour, okay? This flour can be our best friend or it can literally be our nightmare. Now, I have been chilling this flour, and I'll tell you the technique for that in a minute. But I want to give you the idea. We're going to use this is our flour bin, okay? And with our flour bin, I don't know how many of us, we were always taught grab and go. Okay, I just did this. Or we're going to do this, you know, there's my flour, grab and go. I'm going to show you an example though, y'all, the difference. Okay, hang on. Let me get some bowls here. I'm going to show you the difference between the two techniques that I'm going to show you. Hang on a second. Okay, y'all. So this was the first grab and go. We're going to stick it in our bowl. Okay. Now, the second technique I'm going to show you. It's called the flow. We take our spoon into our flour and we just flow it inside of our cup. Just like so. Take the end across, scrape it off, and pour it into our bowl. Now you would think, so what makes the difference in that? I mean, seriously, how does that really make a difference? And that's what I'm going to show you. So I'm going to go back into this bowl, okay? And we're going to go back to flowing this flour into our cup again. If I can get this, hang on a second here. I should have probably used the measuring cup, but we're just going to do this. Yeah. All right, yeah, I'm going to try and put this back in here again. See how that is? It just went right back in this cup. We're going to pop it out, hit the end. And so for the most part, a very little comes off of it, but there's still that 1 cup that came out of that bowl. Okay? So there was minimal, but now we're going to do the same thing. This was the scoop and go. Okay? So watch how this works. I'm going to fill this. I'm going to do that in this bowl because I want you to see the difference. We're going to take this flour and we're going to do like we did the last one. We're going to fill it up right here. Y'all, I'm already getting to the point it's overflowing in the top. Can you see that? So I'm going to do my backdraft here and go in here. There's my 1 cup, y'all, but look how much flour I still have left over. This would create the density that you're getting because we compact our cups more than we need to. Somehow, I don't know, honestly, especially if you have fresh milled, or not fresh milled, but store-bought flour, it packs even more because you got to remember, you don't have that bran, that wheat germ. You don't have all that stuff that is in my flour, so yours gets compacted even more when you just do this and in a bowl. So you're creating the factors, you're getting density by too much flour, not by something that, I mean, it's just been something we've always done. We didn't know this, but that is a key factor. So I always now flow and go instead of scoop and go. That would be number 1 to make the best biscuits. Now from here, I need 2 cups of flour. So I'm going to show you what else we need. I am using a food processor. Let me switch this around for you. Now, Miss Carrie, why are you using a food processor? If you don't have one, you can very much use a pastry, what do they call those? A pastry blender type of thing. to use your butter with and mix that into your flour, or you could literally use a fork. I have carpal tunnel, so I use something very simple as a food processor. I do not do this long. I want everything cold. Now I say that because cold is the second key to keeping your biscuits nice, beautiful, and fluffy. So we want cold milk. And I watched my aunt. She took her milk straight from the refrigerator. She used lard at that time. I'm using pure butter, real butter, unsalted real butter. So she used the lard, so it didn't matter at that part, but she used really cold milk. Made a difference. So I am using cold fat butter and cold buttermilk. So I need 2 cups of flour. This is a very simple recipe, very simple ingredients, and using whole foods, whole fats. There is 1 cup. Using my flow and go method so I don't get too much flour. Basically, you will find I don't always use cups in fresh milled. I use a lot of grams because personally, grams are better. This recipe works, but I honestly think that if I wanted a bulk, I would use more in my grams and weighing than this. So with that, I need a teaspoon of, or a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder for me, and a teaspoon of salt. So let me get my ingredients because y'all, this is going to go pretty quick. Okay, now we have our 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. They're using 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Remember, this is fresh milled. Okay, this is actually a half, so I'm going to have to use 2 of these. This is non-aluminum based baking powder too. Just use whatever y'all can get. No big deal. I like using this one. And a teaspoon of salt. Alright, I am going to actually mix this up really quick. I'm going to set this in here. We're not looking to mix it, just blend it a little. That's it. Now, the second thing we need here is where one of the key factors is very cold, whether it be frozen or refrigerated. I need 6 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter. This is important. So let me get our butter. Okay, y'all, so I'm going to throw my cubed cold butter. If you do not have unsalted, you can very much use the salted butter. Just omit the salt in the recipes. This one isn't really about the recipe as it is about the technique. So that's basically what I'm doing here. Now that we have our butter in here, this is really important. We do not want to process this in a way that's going to heat this up. Our goal is not to heat the butter. It's just to mix it into the flour. So here's what we do. I'm going to mix this just enough to make a crumbled, sandy looking mix. And that is it. I do not want to keep it running either. That's it. Stop. So that's it, y'all. Now I'm going to put this in another dish. I know we got to wash these dishes. It's okay, but this is a good cause. So we're going to turn this off. Our butter is already incorporated into our flour. That was simple for me, and it's worth doing the dishes because it saved my wrist. So I'm going to take and put this in a dish, and I'm going to show you our next step. Okay, y'all, so don't judge. Right off the bat. Yes, you see a piece of parchment paper in my cast iron skillet. I will be using that. fresh mill flour for me in this oven are a different species. So technically, in the sense of it, my oven burns my biscuits. And yes, that burns my biscuits. Anyways, back to the thing. My biscuits get burned. I don't like that. So I will put a piece of parchment paper in my pan that I'm using. It works. So now I'm going to take my flour and we're going to add it in here. We need 1 cup of buttermilk at this point. So I'm going to go get my buttermilk and we're going to come back. This is where the technique, like the flour, this is where it gets highly important on the technique of getting that perfect rise fluffy biscuit. Okay, y'all, so I'm going in with my 1 cup, full cup of buttermilk. That's all we need. It's straight out of the fridge, ice cold. And especially with our temps fixing to get like this is going to be perfect. Now, I need a spatula. I'm not going to touch this with my hands as much. We're just going to mix this, and this is where it's really beneficial too, only when all the flour is absorbed and you get a nice dough. Now this is going to be sticky, but I am going to let this sit for a few minutes in the refrigerator because this is fresh mill flour. My liquid has to absorb into the flour before I can do anything. So I'm going to give this a good 10 minutes in the refrigerator and allow to keep this cool and to hydrate. So I'll be back after 10 minutes. If you are using regular store-bought flour, you can skip this process. You do not need to do this. But we just want to mix it enough without using our hands to touch it because we want to keep this cold. The coldness, and I'll explain that in a minute as soon as I get this in the refrigerator. How does it benefit how does it benefit us making our biscuits? Let me get this in the fridge. Okay, y'all, so in my experience in making these biscuits, one of the benefits was to keep that butter cold. That butter locks in the flavor, leaving a nice, moist, not dry biscuit. In the experiences I had with everything basically kind of room temperature, your warming your milk and all of this, honestly, I found that the biscuits were drier. On top of being dense with my flour, they were rather dry. There was no moisture, it seems, and the rise just wasn't working very well. It's hard to describe the reaction that happens, but there is something about the cold where the baking process, it allows the inside to cook instead of the outside burning, if that makes any sense. It has enough moisture on the inside of it to where it cooks evenly throughout the entire biscuit at the same time. And I have had the most tender, flavorful, undried biscuits ever. My husband, unfortunately, I kind of hate making biscuits in a different way now, not because of the fact that they're dense. I created a monster, and the fact is, when am I going to get my biscuits? It's one of those things that you wished you never started. You kind of wanted to hated that biscuit and leave it there, but now you hate it in a different reason, but it's for a good cause. So I am now learning that it is very beneficial. Some things in bread, you don't want these cold items because it helps the rise. But with the biscuits, it actually benefits them in a great way. They cook evenly, they're tender, and they're not dried out. So that is one of the reasons why I keep everything cold, including the flour. That way it stays chilled when it goes in my oven. So you will see, I promise you, you are going to need a cookie cutter or a biscuit cutter. And this, y'all, I'm going to use a 2.6, which is about 2.5 inch circle. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you are right there. There's my circle. What am I using? I'm using this, y'all. It's this thing here. It goes from 1 inch to 4.4 inches. As big around basically as this tin. I saw one of the fresh milled ladies, Lovely Belle Bakes. She had these, and it's just like, wow, I could use that. And it has been proven that this is amazing. So we use this. Anyways, we're using about a 2.5 inch or so, or a little more press. This press right here, from the old-fashioned Vienna weenie can. Now come on, I know some of you have seen the old Southern ways where Auntie or Grandma brings out this Vienna weenie can and uses it for a biscuit press, down to us using biscuit press. This has been another one of our nightmares, destroying our biscuits. And when I reveal to you how, you will understand. This here is just like the flour, one of the worst things we can do. I'm going to show you the proper way to use these. Okay, y'all, so now comes the third technique into this. Using my same spelt flour, I'm going to lightly sprinkle my surface with flour. Don't want to pour it out there, but we do want flour on our board. I'm going to add my dough out here. We do not want to use our hands as much as possible through this process, because if we use our hands are warm and we will melt this butter and heat this dough up. So we try not to use our hands as much as possible. That's not saying we're not going to, because we have to sometimes. But the least contact we have, the better off. So like here, I'm going to dust the top of my dough in my hands. And I'm just going to press this for right now. I need a rolling pin, and I am going to dust my rolling pin with flour. And we're going to press this not very hard, about 1 inch. And we're going to create what's called an envelope, y'all. We're looking to make a platform. We're going to do this 3 times. There it is. Using one of these or something that you could pick up from underneath and fold it over without touching it. You can even do that with a spatula. Come out from underneath it. I'm going to make sure I have some more flour on my board. Flip this over. Sprinkle the top. Make sure my rolling pin, and we're going to come back in and do this again. Take it, roll it out. What we're creating is layers. The layers is what's going to help make that fluffy inside. And we're going to turn around and do this. Turn it around. Make sure everything is floured on the sides. Again, we're going to come back and do this again. I'm going to probably do this one more time because I like a good layered biscuit. But this is how you get those nice layers. You're just folding it in and rolling it out. Again, we're going to lightly cover it. We don't want to saturate this with flour. We do not want this with too much flour on it. Roll it over. Sprinkle my top, my board, my rolling pin, and now I'm going to roll this out because now is the time we're going to start cutting. I want at least a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Now this all depends on you, how much you like to have your biscuits fluffed up or whatever. I don't like a too high of a biscuit, so I will knock mine down a little bit. I try not to go no more than 1 inch to 1/2 or 3/4 inches if possible. Now I'm going to sacrifice this round because we're going to end up doing this again. But I'm going to sacrifice this round because I want to show you one of the top mistakes that we get on a biscuit that my aunt never, I don't know if she didn't catch on. I noticed when I watched her, she actually did the technique I'm fixing to show you. But that was the biggest thing I didn't catch on to, and why it was so valuable, important. Because when we are taught we cut things out, we all do this. I have been guilty of this for so many times. And watch what I'm going to do. We're going to press down. And what do? We turn. And we pull this out. Right? So now we have our biscuit. But let me show you the proper way. And then I'm going to show you why. The proper way to literally do this is push down. Straight up. Do not turn that cutter. Now let me show you the difference between the two. This was the one that was rounded. You press down, you round it. You have this beautiful seal on the inside of that biscuit. Do you see that? Where this one is rough and the edges are rough cut. Y'all, this biscuit will rise. This biscuit will not rise very well. You sealed off its rising ability, so you're going to get a much denser, lower biscuit than this one will ever be. When we turn our, trust me when I tell you, this makes a huge difference. I had tried both ways and my biscuits came out a lot easier just doing the press down and up method without twisting. I had a much better, beautiful rise in my biscuits than this one that I sealed my edges. So try it for yourself if you don't believe me. But that and the flour were the two biggest mistakes ever made in making biscuits. If you can get these techniques, I promise you, any recipe that you like or love or want to try, you will succeed in your biscuits. Just trying these very simple methods. I'm going to go ahead and finish out my biscuit dough so we can get this going. I got to make 2 rounds of these because that man loves his biscuits. Press down, straight up. Press down, straight up. Down and straight up. That's it. We do not want to seal those edges. Now, when we line our pans, we line those pans where they touch each other. When they touch each other, it creates this fact where they cannot spread out, they go up. So we want them to touch. Make a comfortable little bedding inside with everybody having to get along with each other. Regardless, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to finish this out really quick. And once I finish this out, we're going to come back and we're going to actually bake these. And I'm going to show you the difference, y'all. And then show you what to do with that extra 2 tablespoons of butter you didn't use on that full entire stick. Again, push down, straight up. Down and straight up. This really will make a difference. You will see. I promise you. Just try it. All right. We'll be right back. Okay, y'all. So before I do that, I have this much dough left. This is going to be my prime example to show you the difference. I love the fact, God, you're good. So I love the fact that I can show you. I'm going to press this dough in here to the size of this press. I'm going to pop this out. Now this is going to be a sealed edge, y'all, the same way you would if you put it in and turned. I'll pop that bad boy in here, let it fit with the rest, and you're going to see the difference between these and that one right there. So keep an eye. We're going to look at this one right here. Now we're going to pop this in a 450 degree oven for about 10-12 minutes or until golden brown. and the internal temp is about 190. So we'll be right back as soon as these are done. All right, y'all, that extra 2 tablespoons of butter that I had, I just pop it in here. I do not even have to turn this oven on because this backside, I don't know how to explain it. It's the only one that has a system where heat comes up. I don't even have to turn this on. I just let it sit there and it heats up my butter to what I need it to do. And if I'm not careful, it will really turn that into brown butter. So it gets that hot. In the meantime, while we're waiting on our biscuits, I am actually going to start making my rolls because they are doubled in size and I need to get this done because they got to do their rise again. Boy, you are a happy dough. I love it. We'll be back. Okay, y'all, so our biscuits are out of the oven. I tested them. They're about just a hair over 200 on the internal temps, which is perfect. Now, you take that 2 tablespoons of butter that we melted and you brush the tops of your biscuits. This gives you a very beautiful, buttery flavored biscuit. Now, I'm going to show you something else too. These are very hot, so I may have to wait till they cool off, but I'm going to show you the difference between that one that we used in the end to press versus all these others around here. I'm going to show you the depth difference. Let's see, maybe if they're cooled off enough, let's see if we can do this. I'm not sure I can. Hang on. Yep, we can. All right, so that one is hidden. This is very hot though. Here we are. There it is. See if we can show you the depth difference. Do you see that? This one here is flatter, and that is because the rise was cut off. But look how fluffy and how high this one rose. You can see the layers through this. Now, does that mean that this biscuit isn't any good? No. If you don't worry about the rise and you're not looking for it, then do what you do. But I will tell you, it will make a bit of a difference if you do them this way, even in the textures of your biscuit. So I am going to go ahead and open this one right here with the new technique and show y'all how fluffy, even with fresh milled, that y'all is hot. Okay, so show you what it looks like even with fresh milled, which is one of the hardest flours to make. If I can make a fluffy biscuit out of this, look y'all, we're just going to go ahead, look here, give you bird's eye. Look at that steam, look at that fluffiness inside, those nooks, those crannies. Y'all, that's a biscuit that took me several years to learn how to do it. It wasn't my recipe, it was my technique. Oh, that smells so good. Okay, y'all, so this is a long video. I understand that, and if you are in the path like us and you're watching this video, then we're gonna get locked down anyway. So let's enjoy our video that may help us be able to bring our families together using whole foods. Whether we love country food, whatever type, this is an amazing meal that we could use for our families to have a simple country breakfast. Now, what goes with biscuits? If you said gravy, you're right. On top of being asked, how do I make a biscuit? How do you make your gravy? That was another one, y'all. I had to learn. And I had so much gravy, I didn't know what to do with it. But I learned. So I am going to go ahead and do gravy. However, again, I am going to be showing you gravy. For those of you who fresh mill your flour, you're going to see it done with fresh milled flour. Now, I will put recipes, linking or whatever. There will be recipes for everyone. If you are fresh milling your biscuits, you want the equivalent of an all-purpose flour, not a whole wheat flour. We do not need that bread rise or that density of a bread. we need it light and fluffy. So the gluten, we don't need as much in it. So I am going to suggest any of the wheat berries, soft white wheat, spelt, einkorn. Even though einkorn has a little bit of gluten along with emmer, these are your main wheat berries that don't have as much gluten as hard white wheat, kamut, or hard red wheat. So that's my suggestion. However, you do what you feel. I will tell y'all, wow, you would never think that a simple biscuit can have such an impact in flavor, but this one does. When I started fresh milling, I didn't comprehend just yet. So I've been milling now for a little over a year, 2 years maybe, and it's become second nature. My husband and I, he took me out one day to Cracker Barrel, which we actually love Cracker Barrel's breakfast. So on the table, which we're not really fond of anymore, we try to avoid any of the flour-based foods that deals with enriched flour. We just decided just once, it ain't gonna hurt us. Yes, it did. So, number one, flavor. Wow. Absolutely wow. Did we know the difference between a fresh milled biscuit versus a all-purpose floured biscuit? The flavor balance was totally different. That poor biscuit at Cracker Barrel was basically flavorless versus what we get out of these wheat berries. I never understood when I got into this how strong this really is and doesn't make a difference. It absolutely makes a difference. So we actually love our, thank you that I learned how to make a biscuit, because those taste so much better. On top of that, the texture difference was a lot different. This biscuit from Cracker Barrel, I will say, was the fluffiest biscuit you ever had. However, versus my biscuit, now my biscuits are nice and fluffy. There is texture there, and I believe that is due to the fiber and the wheat germ, versus the all-purpose flour. It was fluffy, pasty. It's almost as if these biscuits, they keep their maintaining texture of fluffiness like a fresh loaf of bread out of the oven, versus the density, togetherness, and paste of that biscuit. It was, we both stood there and thought, now how did we ever miss this? But unless you taste a fresh milled biscuit versus anything else, you would know the difference. So y'all, these are ways that it was my honor to be able to do this, to show you, if you are fresh milling, there is a way. It can be dense, but there is a way to making the most fluffiest biscuits ever. And I think I've gotten to the point now, after almost 2 years, there isn't a bread source I can't do with fresh milled flour anymore, because I have managed to figure out how to do that. And I am ecstatic, because I don't like the flavor of all-purpose anymore. So, plus I love the flavor, or the balance of nutrients and vitamins that are locked in it. But for those of you who are wanting to fresh mill or don't have the opportunity to fresh mill yet, I will link you a recipe, just a very simple biscuit recipe. Just remember, keep the technique. It's not the recipe, y'all. It's the technique. I promise you, try this technique. It will make a difference. Now, we're going to go on to the gravy, and I am actually going to make a sausage gravy. What's really bad right now, it's raining. My husband is home from work. There's not much they can do outdoors, so he is watching or listening to this video. That man knows, and I know it's going to happen. He's being very patient. He's being very quiet while I'm making this video, because in the back of his mind is she's making biscuits and gravy, and as soon as that video is over, that man is going to attack these biscuits and that gravy. Watch. All right, y'all, so the first step to our sausage gravy is making and using, we're using our sausage, so I'm going to fry this up. And I'm not going to be using all of this because I'm going to make this in different areas. But for the gravy, I am going to be using a portion of this. So we will be right back and I will show you. I'm going to keep everything in this same pan though, and I'll show you why. Okay, y'all, so we have our sausage. It is ready, and I'm going to pull this out into a separate dish. Now, I'm not going to strain this fat off because I need it. However, there's really not enough to need what I need. So, in the old times, people would use lard. But let me tell you, there was a different type of lard back then. It was 100% pure, rendered down pig fat. It was the most purest, cleanest lard that was not processed or pasteurized. So, in the difference of it, the fat content in that lard was so much better than something we might be able to have today. So, with that, I am going to add a fat. Hold on, y'all. Sorry about that, y'all. So, I am going to add a different type of fat to this that is used all natural. I do have lard. I'm not sure exactly how the authenticity of it is. I need to get to a place where we have a meat packing company where I can literally buy fat and render my own lard. However, I'm not able to get to it right now. So I am going to substitute what I need with, that's right, y'all, bacon. I need this bacon fat. You actually need a fat base in your gravy to make a really nice gravy. So we're going to fry up some bacon. Hubby wants some of this bacon anyways to go with his biscuits. And I need the fat for his gravy. So that is our next step. We're going to fry up some of this bacon. We're going to reserve the fat from it and use it. It is almost as if getting my lard with rendered down fat. So when we get this enough of it, I need at least a couple tablespoons of, I don't need a whole lot. You don't need to have it all the way up to 1 inch or so. You just need enough to create a base between that flour and this fat to make a nice roux. So once I get this done and cooked up, I will show you from there how to make our gravy because it will go super fast next. Okay, y'all, so while this is cooking up, I will say, is this Mediterranean? No. It is on the same aspects, though, as real food. And that's what we're concentrating on. Real food has gotten kind of a bad reputation as being super expensive, this, that, and whatever. And honestly, this is nothing to fear. This is something we should really embrace because whole foods are so much better for us without all those preservatives. It is the way God created our body to consume food. Some of this other stuff that they're putting in our food was never meant to be in the first place. So, and the flavor, oh my gosh, y'all, the flavor is amazing. So this is the reason I am using this. There are many people that are in the South, and so to make, I guess what you can say is I'm recreating the South's favorite meals, but in a whole food form, as if the Mediterranean would do the same in whole food forms. So that's all I'm doing here. Okay, y'all, so I had actually did about a pound of bacon, and I have just about enough in my cast iron skillet for the fat that I need. I did forget something. Hang on a second. Okay, it was the key thickener, our flour. So to this, y'all, I want to do this kind of on a medium low. You don't want to do it too high of a heat, but I want to take and sprinkle about a tablespoon or so of flour into my pan. Now remember, the one thing about gravy is the more flour you add, the more liquid you're going to add to make it thick for your gravy. So you don't want to start out with a whole lot of flour. I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons. You just basically want to cook this flour so it's not raw. And it's going to look really weird in your pan. When you add your milk, y'all, that's when it's going to change. Now, this is considered white gravy. And I probably should have went with just a little bit more fat in here. So I'm going to need it. Somehow, I guess that was a leaner side of my bacon. So let me get just a little bit more fat. Okay, y'all. I am going to be using this Morals lard. I'm not using a whole lot of this. I don't particularly like using this. And I definitely will not ever use Crisco. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of this to melt in it. I cannot wait to render my own fat, if you want the truth. I don't use it a lot, to be honest. We don't hardly ever use this type of fat anyways. And that's my husband. He gets gripey because I don't make his gravy enough. But if I had my own rendered, it wouldn't be as bad, I guess. Now that's a little better. Okay. So I didn't need a whole lot. You just want to make like a glossy roux. Alright, now I am actually going to be using half and half. If you use milk, make sure it's whole milk. It's better. You can use any type of milk you want to, though. To be honest, just do you. But we are going to use this half and half. Number one, really, I need to use it up. And two, it would be more of a creamy taste. If I did milk, for me, it would be whole milk. So, but I'm not here to tell anybody what products to use. You do what makes you comfortable. I'm just showing you how to do this. Now, at this point, now we've got a nice roux. And so, now this is where the reaction is going to go really quickly. The moment we pour our milk in, start out small, work your way up. You don't want it too thick and you don't want it watery. So we're going to go with just a little bit. I'm going to add about maybe a cup. Back off, mix until this is smooth again. Now you're going to see these floating things in mine because remember I'm using whole wheat flour, so you're going to see my bran and the wheat germ floating in my gravy. Now this is going to start to thicken up pretty quick. You keep stirring this, do not stop. Now the bits from my bacon is also going to come up. As you're starting to see, this is getting thick now. And I already knew this isn't going to be enough milk, but this is a start. So I'm just doing this slowly. As you can see, it's getting thick. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more at a time. You're just looking for it to just add enough to where it thickens up, but not too thick. You want a good consistency, and once we reach that, I'll show you what a good consistency for gravy would be for this. I'm scraping up the bits. I don't mean to scrape this in your ears, y'all. So this is basically the point here. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some black pepper to this while we can. And it's going to take me a little bit with all-purpose flour. This goes really quick, but with fresh milled, it can be a little slower because remember, my flour is absorbing these liquids in a slower pace. So I'm going to cook this down. Once I reach the consistency that I need, it's already getting thick again. So I'm going to watch how much we're making. I'm going to see if it's going to continue to get super thick. Or is this good enough? Because right now, basically, this would be a really nice gravy over biscuits. But, again, this stuff can turn around. Yep, and I already see it's going to get, it's still cooking. It's going to get a whole lot thicker, so we're going to need some more. This is how you know you're watching it and getting that right. See, I'll show you the consistency again, what's happening here. It looks like it's still doing the same thing, but y'all, it's getting a lot thicker. We're not far though. Absolutely not far. Now, I really don't want it much more thicker than this though. To be honest, this would be good, but it's going to be a little bit too thick. Now, at this point, I'm going to go and add half of my sausage to this as well. I want to incorporate my sausage into my gravy because we're making, well, sausage gravy. Now, you will find that this, I said, this was white. See how it just thickened up really bad? This needs more milk, definitely. We're just going to add a little bit at a time, a couple tablespoons at a time, mix this up. Now, here we go. But you see that this is, they call it white gravy. However, mine isn't so white because you got to see that I am using whole wheat flour as well. So it will change the color of my gravy. But usually with the all-purpose flour, it'll be pretty much somewhat white. So let me go ahead and get this fixed up, y'all. This looks like we're just about there for the perfect density of our gravy. And it's just that simple. It took me a while though, and I think what got me was I always had my gravies too thick. I didn't judge it right because that flour does absorb, and it just keeps on absorbing. And the more you have, that's the reason why I said the more you have, you're going to have so much gravy you won't know what to do, because that flour continually eats up that liquid, and you have to continually add it until it reaches its point where the flour is full. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Once I get it, I'll show you where we're at, and that'll be it, y'all. Okay, y'all, my flour finally reached its peak. 2 tablespoons of flour with the fat that we added, and I'd say I had a couple tablespoons of fat in here, but the flour was the one that would make the amount. Basically, with 2 tablespoons, I have at least a cup and a half, maybe 2 cups of gravy right here, which is perfect for 2 people. And you see that beautiful consistency. It's kind of thick. You can see where it's doing this. Oh, those are our buns. And then the fact that it just springs right back, and it's not super thick. Hang on a minute, y'all. I'm sorry. It's not super thick, and it's not super thin. Let me get these buns out of the oven. Yes, y'all, I'm prepping at the same time in case we lose power. I'm getting our buns and everything ready as well. So let me get this pulled out of the side and get everything situated. Ooh, baby, I ain't got enough room. Let's do this. And we will be right back, y'all. Okay, y'all, and again, I know this was a really long video, and I'm sorry. But this is the last one until next week. Unless I will try to make what I can. Oh, my hair's, y'all, I'm working too hard. So I will try to do what I can to keep everybody up to date, excuse me, on what's going on in our progress, how we're doing. And I will put these recipes. The one thing I think was really good about biscuits and gravy is, on a pinch, when you're in a situation of upcoming weather, gravy is one of those things that can cook on a wood stove, grill, or even a camp stove very simply. It is enough to feed a family. If you prepare ahead of time, like we are doing, as I'm cooking all of my bread sources. I'm not going to eat this bread the entire weekend, y'all, but I'm going to make sure that I have this. A lot of this is going in my freezer for other meals, so we don't eat this all in one day, just to let you know. But I'm preparing it because if the power goes out, I don't know how long we'll be without power. I will have resources to be able to keep me and my husband fed. Gravy is a stick to your ribs with the biscuits that will fill you and make you content without being really hungry. So I have resources of other things, but this is one of them, and it was really an honor and a privilege to work with, showing you all, especially for those who really don't know how do you do something. I wanted to do step by step and up close and personal with you to show you how simple it was. Now, a surprise for the homestead that I'm going to leave at the end of this video. I will put recipes in the description box below for y'all, so please check that out. It will be either a link form or whatever. You can save it for yourself. But for most of you who have been with us, at least 9,200 subscribers have been with us for nearly, this channel is going I can't remember, y'all, if we're going on 3 or 4 years now. You have been through a lot of things with this homestead, but we have mainly been gardens and chickens. We have had opportunities of working with quails. And at one time, in the very beginning of this homestead, we started rabbits. We had, I don't know, I guess at that point we weren't prepared. And that's the reason why I do a lot of teaching, even on a small homestead base like we are in rural Mississippi. We have done a lot of research. We've been homesteading now for the past 8 years. I do not regret it, as hard as it's been. But we have, my husband has added, and it is something that him and I are, this is something we need together. And so he had made a request that he wants to try it again. And so I can't deny that. So we have an extension to our homestead, y'all, and I want to introduce you to our newest members. Now, before I introduce you, I'm going to tell you they are in the house due to the storms coming, because these are babies, 8 to 10 weeks old. And their names are Esther and Grace. Now let me show you who I'm talking about. There is Esther and Grace, y'all. These two babies are California, New Zealand baby rabbits. They don't look like a baby. They look like they're full grown, but trust me when I say they're only 8 to 10 weeks old. And at this point, we don't want to put them outside during this freeze. So they're actually in here keeping warm with us, but this is a new members, y'all. Let's see if I can get this down here for you. They are so fluffy, very gentle. We're working with them. This gives us the opportunity to help them not be so rowdy. They're getting tame and acclimated with the touch of human hands. So it's kind of cool. Are we crazy? Possibly. Y'all know, if you've been with me all this time, you know this homestead never has a dull dull moment. So why change now? I love y'all. Please, I'm begging you. There is a long line stream from Oklahoma through Tennessee into the northern areas of Virginia on up. Most of those areas from Pennsylvania, Maine, you guys are getting some really heavy dumped on snow. But those of us in a pink zone from Oklahoma, or Texas, actually, Texas up to, I believe, the Carolinas, there is a really widespread pink zone. Y'all, this is ice. Be careful. Be prepared. Now, I am going to give you all a very good resource that has been spot on. And I'm not the type of person, sorry, y'all, I'm adjusting myself here. I'm not the type of person to just throw something at you. If I'm going to give you something, it's going to come from my heart, because I genuinely care about each and every one of you. I'm not just going to give you anything just because I'm a YouTube influencer. I'm a human being just like you, and I'm going through just like you. If you want up to date, if you want information, I will link this below for you as well for a click and go to. Ryan Hall, y'all. And that is, it sounds like it is, Ryan Hall. Mr. Hall is amazing and spot on meteorologist. He has saved this homestead in so many ways. He has helped me prepare and kept me ahead of the game. I am going to put that link for you to follow. I encourage y'all, give him a try, see what you think. That man has never disappointed me. I think he is highly beneficial to so many homesteaders or non-homesteaders alike. He's there for every resident, and if you can stay ahead and know what's coming, the one thing he does tell us, and I highly agree, and the same thing I do, I don't believe in fear-mongering anybody. That's not the game, and that's not the way it should be. But we do agree with preparing. Instead of fearing, prepare. Be prepared for anything, just in case. I love y'all. I will put all these links for you. Be safe, and I look forward to seeing you again. I'll show you the progress if I can. They are talking we may lose our power. So if we do, I do have sources that I'm charging up to keep my phones, but that would probably be for emergency purposes only. So I will contact you, and I will pray for each and every one of you as well. Until next time, mwah, much love. Please know you're in my heart, and I'll see you again from Parton's Mediterranean Homestead.